Amazing. That's good. So if we come to the economic impact, when the girls are coming to school or when the students are coming to school, you can see them on a day-to-day basis. You can see if they're, nourished, if they had food and all these things. And we know that some parents or mostly some mothers have lost their livelihood and everything like that. So how do you kind of follow up from that economic standpoint with the girls and their feeding and making sure that, physically they are okay? How has that been and how has that been going on? Mm-hmm.
I see you nodding. You want to go? Go ahead.
The part that I was thinking about was mostly when it comes to the small business that we've actually exposed them to. So one of the qualities at Starfish International is independence, and this includes financial independence and being able to make your own decisions and all of that. But during the pandemic, one of the things we've been able to do is to remind our students of those skills that we've been given them, because at that time it wasn't in need for some of them. Like, okay, if your mom was giving you lunch, then you are not pressured to be like, I need to start my own small business. But now that you see mom is not going to work, dad is struggling, then okay, I've learned this in Starfish and this is how I can do it. Plus there are resources for me. We've had guest speakers that are doing business. We have mentors here that are doing their own small business. We have the business center where their products were being displayed. So they've been exposed enough, and what we try to do is to remind them of how they can use this skill in order to be able to help themselves. And we've put into context too, because we know that right now it is the pandemic and they cannot, go out. But if you start a mask, business, that's something that people will need, and you can have set up a little place where you can showcase it and people can come. And we're also giving you tools on how you can protect yourself. When it comes to the physical well-being, one of the things we've not forgotten about is the health classes that we've been doing. So, like Mariama said, we've done radio shows on how they can eat nutritious food, especially given the nature of the COVID-19 virus. We know that strengthening your immunity is really important. So they've been, having sessions on that on their pages. The Starfish program really has a strong health program. And so reaching out to them and sending them resources and challenging them has also been a part of what we do, to just make sure they are physically okay.
So, this question that with COVID-19, things are more difficult for families. Yeah. Normally, on a day-to-day basis, our population is a vulnerable population. So on a daily basis, struggling anyway. And so we're always looking at ways to shore up those holes and how to help and support and make sure that the girl is at the center of feeling their self-agency. What can I do? Even though my parents can give me lunch money, how do I provide my own? And so on and so forth. So part of what we have built around Starfish is the business center, as well as the art gallery. So during COVID, one of the things that students from the skill center have been able to do is come and make masks. And when they've made those masks, we've been able to sell them, not only in the Gambia, but abroad as well. But we've also been able to give masks to our supporters in the West when things were not as bad in the Gambia, to change the narrative of, always receiving. It's really important, and I think magical, for girls in Africa to be able to make masks and send them to Americans who are struggling with COVID-19, for example. We have a soap making business that is generally during the year continues. So they've been able to do soap making, mask making, even the paintings. Some of the paintings that have been sold in the gallery have to do with COVID-19. The photography program, girls are preparing pictures on the experience of girls during COVID and what that looks like. So the businesses that were set up not only tell their stories and show them who they are at any point in time, but help, because everybody needs soap, everybody needs masks, and so on. So it helps them to look at what is happening in their community and then how they can rise to respond. And then very early on, we started a gardening competition. So we have agriculture, the three prongs of Starfish, health, education, and agriculture. So at the very beginning, we were looking at, okay, what foods are in the area that the girls, that the students can do a kitchen garden or a garden at home, so that right now, for example, yesterday, my daughter harvested 3 eggplants. So I came to the kitchen today and there were 3 fresh eggplants sitting there. And I knew that she had harvested it and some okra from the garden. So how do we help them continue to do that? And I think for me, the most important part is in the summer classes where we've tried to be innovative. I think as we sit here as 3 people who represent Starfish. But if you know the generality of Starfish, it is that it's all of the people that support us. So a lot of Gambians and adults have come to Starfish, and we have a database of people who can guide the girls and who can be examples and role models for the girls, because we don't want them to think of this as an exception. So right now during the summer class, one of the summer classes that is happening at Starfish is looking at innovative businesses during COVID. So the girls are actually taking classes on talking to adults and finding out and working out with them, people in business especially, and business innovation, what they can do, what kinds of businesses are actually helping during COVID.
Okay, so we have talked about the different economic ways that you are helping the girls, how you're ensuring that the lessons are continuing, and how you're keeping an eye on the girls and all the students. So if we now turn to the reports, reports have been coming out from international organizations, and they have been showing the abuses on girls. They've been showing gender-based violence. Even here in the UK, domestic violence is up and all those things, and girls are very vulnerable at this time. So is there any strategies that you've put in place to check on girls, and especially speak to the mothers? What are the signs that they should look out for their girls at this time? Anything that you've come across?
Okay, so I'll start because I know once they start, they've been on the front lines with this. But early on, I think we shut down Starfish about 2 to 3 weeks before the government shut down the schools in the Gambia for COVID. And so we did about a month-long education on COVID prevention, looking at what was happening in the rest of the world, prepared them, had them start hand washing stations in their homes, have them practice and guide them, and then shut down. You might not know, or you might, that the Starfish Center, the main center is in Lamin, but we have Starfish chapters throughout the country. And so from Basse all the way here, we have Starfish centers. There are 25 to 30 girls in villages and towns all across the country. And so one of the things when we looked at shutting down, or at least changing course, one of the things we had to look at was how do we get access to these girls? Not everybody has a phone. What are we going to do if a girl is in Basse and needs help? And so we mapped out where they live and who they live close to, who has a phone. And so if you are a girl, do you know 5 Starfish girls around you that if they needed help, they could contact you, and then you could contact a mentor. So in essence, it's a calling tree setup that we had. And within that calling tree setup, then we could send videos, we could send audios on WhatsApp to the girls, and then we could also communicate with their parents. So that within that setup then is where we have continuous conversations about safety, not just with the girl, but with the parents. Earlier on, I gave you the example of, the girl is the one that usually goes into older relatives, older males' rooms to go and clean the room. And so having a conversation with the parent to say, listen, when they're about to go into that room, could you as a fellow adult ask that person to leave the room until the girl is done cleaning it? Again, it negotiates within the family on how to protect that girl and keep her safe. But we are not so idealistic as to think that things won't happen and bad things won't happen and the girls won't get abused. And so just as general practice at Starfish, one of our programs has always been a mental health and well-being program that the girls participate in. And so they have a support group normally during the year where once a week they come together to talk about what problems they're going through and then to get the mental health and support that they need during that. So we've continued that. We've amplified that in smaller groups as well as in the large groups. It's one of their favorite programs. Is we call it the Sisters Care program. So it's meditation. It's being open enough and vulnerable enough where your safety and your confidentiality is assured.
Yes. To add to that, I think the Sisters Care is one of the activities that help us to know the state of being of our girls. But also the Youth Power Squads are another way that we can help know what's happening with our girls. So we do weekly and daily checkups with our girls to find out what is happening with them, what they're going through, and how can we help them. But usually most of these girls, if it's in a group, they are not very comfortable to talk about, for example, if somebody touched my boobs today or something like that. So usually a mentor will have to know that something is wrong with this girl. Maybe they have not been performing to their level of excellence because they've been very quiet or something have happened to them. Like a mentor will know that because you work closely with them. So you're able to, contact them privately to say, I noticed that you've not been participating very well in the classes. What happened? How can I help you? And so conversations like that help the girls to be able to communicate and talk about what's happening with them. So with the parents, I think our radio shows, I will say, the radio programs have been it's a platform where we talk about all these issues that are happening with the girls, So we talk about rape and molestation, we talk about online sexual harassment, all of these things that we are worried about the girls' safety now that they are at home. So usually we share these recordings with them and they are able to share their comments, and if they have questions, they are able to ask those as well. So that has been a great way to find out what's happening with our girls and how we can help them.
That's amazing. So with the mothers right now, because we know that the mothers are the ones that are, in charge in the home, is there anything you're doing with the mothers so that they can help them and their girls at this moment in time? Is there any mother-daughter initiative that's going on for this, that is instituted because of COVID-19? Or is it all like a parent-teacher organization that you had before the COVID-19? Did you set up anything new because of this pandemic between the mother and the daughter to keep that relationship going, to make sure they're always talking to their daughters and not leaving them alone, to know exactly what their daughters are doing at all time? Do you have anything like that? Exactly what their daughters are doing at all time. Do you have anything like that?
So I'll talk about two things. The structure that we have in place is the mothers group. And that mothers group, then those mothers work with other mothers and inspire them, and work with their daughters as well. But then the other thing that we have is the parent service hours. So the parent service hours are, according to Starfish, if Starfish gives you a scholarship, then not only does the daughter have to do something in the community to serve their community, but they also have to serve alongside a parent. So they do their service hours and the parent does their service hours. That way the scholarship does not come across as charity. It actually comes across as something that you earn, that you paid for with your service. And so those service projects are between the mothers and their daughters, and they continue. And so those spaces in which they serve together are those open communication spaces. And then maybe I'll just add one more thing, which is, we've been putting a lot of thought on, since we work with vulnerable communities already, what are we going to do in terms of donations to the families? So we know that families need help. We know that families need food. So early on, we started fundraising for a food drive. And I think what makes our food drive different and unique, and we decided that since a lot of people were giving food early on in COVID, during the rainy season before grains are harvested or crops are harvested, that would be the toughest time. So we were going to hold on to our food drive initiative until that time when our families were suffering the most. But the way we were going to distribute that food was to actually target the mothers, and we will give a family some food, but we will also give you business money, so that basically a starter loan. And that starter loan, so if we give you, let's say, a bag of rice and some oil, we will also give you some money to start a business. And then your daughter, who has taken business courses and this idea of independence within Starfish, would then be charged with accompanying you, because that money we're giving you is going to be a loan. It's not going to be free. The food you can have for free. The money to start your business is a loan that when you pay it off, it goes to another woman. We call it our generosity project. It's our philanthropic project. And so that's what we have that will be rolled out in the next 2 weeks, will be these, the food drive and the monies we will give mothers so that they and their daughters can do the business. And the daughter can do the bookkeeping, they can keep you accountable, and you will continue in this so that they can help you pay this money back to Starfish so it can go to another woman.
Amazing.